Okay, in this video, I'm going to show you how to scoop out a round bottom to something. It's using a tool called the revolve tool. You can imagine it kind of like when you're eating cantaloupe with a spoon and you're just like scooping it, the soft cantaloupe out. You just kind of scoop it out, or scooping out ice cream as well. We're going to do that. Before we do that, I forgot to do something with our sketch. To use the revolve tool, you need to cut your sketch in half, so it can be like a spoon cutting from one side and cutting through the other. So let's do that real quick. So I'm going to come back over to my sketch. I'm going to right click on my sketch and do edit sketch. And I'm going to drag or draw a line from this end of the circle to that end of the circle. That splits that part of it in half. So that'd be one scoop we do. And then I need to go to the midpoint of this rectangle at the end, and you see the midpoint by the triangle it creates. Click on this midpoint, and then come down to the very bottom and find its midpoint, another triangle, and that cuts that one in half. So we'll scoop out that one as well separately. All right, now I'm going to finish sketch, and I'm going to come up here to the revolve tool. I'm going to tip my model to the side a little bit so I can kind of see what's happening. And it's going to ask me what profiles do you want to scoop out. Well, I want to revolve this one, all of the circle, one half of all the circle ones. So there, that's all of them. And it's going to ask me what's going to be the axis that we're going to rotate this around. And I'm going to say, okay, this midline right here is the axis. And notice what it's doing. It took that profile, that shape, and it rotated around, cutting everything out along the way. Now, instead of cut, I could come down here and I could say, hey, what I want to do is join. That'll make a little lump on top instead of a hole in the bottom, right? I don't want that for sure. But that's like where my headphones are going to sit. That's what they're going to look like in there. I could do a new body that will create a new little pill shape inside there that won't be connected to the base. Again, I don't want that. I want the cut. And I'm going to just click OK. And notice how I have that shape cut out. Now I need to do the same thing for the rectangle, but you can see Fusion hid the sketch from me. So I'm going to come over here to my sketch folder. I'm going to open it with this little triangle here. And the last sketch in the list is the one I was just working on. So I'm going to make it visible again. And now I can see the next thing I need to scoop out. So I'm going to come over here and use the revolve command again on the create menu. So create revolve. I'm going to click on all of these outside edge of this rectangle. So all of those I'm gonna highlight. I could use the inside ones as well. The axis I'm going to rotate this around is this center line right down the middle here, and that's going to rotate it around that line and cut all of that out. And then so I'm going to say, make sure it says cut. I'm going to say OK, and just like that. Now you can see all of these extra lines that are here is the sketch that I made visible. I'm going to go hide that sketch. Now you can see we just made that cutout for the earbud. Now we need another one of these. So one thing we could do is go back in and recreate all the sketches or mirror the sketches. There's an even easier way. Once you have something built like this, you can actually just mirror this feature from this side to that side. To do that, I first need to have a mid-plane. So I'm going to come here to construct and go down to mid-plane. When I rotate my model, I'm going to say, hey, I'm going to want the midplane halfway between this plane here, this surface, and this surface, and it just created a plane for me. So I'm going to say, okay. Now I've got my midplane. Now what I can do is say, I want to go to the create menu, go down to mirror, and I'm going to mirror features. So usually it starts on faces. You can mirror features, bodies, or components. And the things I'm going to want to mirror is this cutout and this cutout, which is kind of weird that you can click a hole, right? So basically I'm saying create the hole over on this side. My mirror plane is going to be here, and Fusion shows you what it's going to do, so you can see this is where it's going to put it. And I'm going to say OK. And just like that, I've created both spots. For the headphones, the little wire tube comes out and then goes into this gap here. All right, so I'm going to turn off plane 2. I can turn it back on if I need it later, and tip it over on the side a little bit. So that's where half of them will go. What we're going to do now is we're going to extend out this weird shaped face. We're going to extrude it straight up to the lid, which is kind of cool. You can do that. To do that, I'm just going to hit E right away. I don't need to create any sketches for this. And I'm going to click in this face somewhere. And then I'm going to do it, instead of a certain distance, I'm going to do it to an object. And this is where things get a little confusing. I need to be able to turn the lid on, but when I turn the lid on, I can't click on the inside of the lid, which is where I want to go to. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to turn the base off, flip the model over so I can see the inside surface up here, and say extrude to there. Now before I do this extrusion, I want to make sure I turn the lid off. Otherwise, it's going to fuse it all together in one piece, and turn the base back on, because I do want this to be fused to the base. So that was a lot to go through. And I'm going to click, so make sure it says join, I'm going to click OK. Now I've just extended that round hole up so that it touches the lid on the other side. And that lid touching it is what's going to hold it in place. Wonderful news. All right, so we've made quite a bit of progress. Now you can see what's going to happen. When you put your headphones in here, the wire's going to come out here, and you'll be able to wrap it around inside this sort of channel around here. But to keep it from falling off the top, we're going to need to put a lip on this top outside part. To do that, I'm going to create a sketch right here on the face. Make sure you're on this weird shaped face. And then I'm going to do an offset tool. And notice when I do the offset tool, it picks up all of these things, all of these edges on the inside as well. And if I try and offset this, it's gonna like be really weird and problematic and do kind of crazy things. So instead of doing that, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna click the sketch curve. I'm gonna take that off so I have no curves selected. I'm gonna undo the chain selection. And I'm gonna say, hey, I'm gonna select my own pieces. With the chain selection selected, when you click on something, Fusion guesses what other shapes you want to add to it. It usually does a pretty good job of it, but in this case it doesn't. So I'm going to be, okay, I want to start here. I'm going to just work my way around, selecting all the curves. Now notice I can't select this curve yet because there's actually a little piece in here. So if you get to a point where you can't select something, that's probably because there's something in between what you want to select. So again, I'm going here, here, and then I try to select this curve, but I can't, so there's something, yep, there it is right there, a little piece in between, and now I can get that piece, and I want to include that piece as well. And at that point, I'm going to make this to 2 millimeters, so that'll give me a nice big lip there. I'm going to hit enter. Now I need to close this off, so I'm going to grab a line, I'm going to go from here to this corner right there, and then from here to this corner right there. And when I do this, you can see it shaded it, which means now I can extrude it. I'm going to tip my model a little bit to the side so I can see what's going on. I'm going to hit E for extrude and click on this outside ring, and I'm going to extrude that down 1 millimeter, except that went up, so I'm going to do -1, and that goes down. I want to make sure it says join, and I'm going to say OK. Now you can see I've got this little lip out here that the wire can go underneath. The only problem with this lip is that I'm going to 3D print this. I'm going to do it with this side down. So when the 3D printer gets to this lip right here, it's going to have to print that lip out in the air. And that is not going to print. It can't stack plastic in the air. So what I need to do now is I need to create a little bit of plastic that kind of goes from this corner down to this wall and kind of creates a ledge so that the 3D printer can slowly print farther and farther out instead of having to jump out all in one shot. This part's a little bit wonky and a little bit hard, so bear with me. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to turn on my planes, and what I'm looking for is this plane here. So this mid plane through the middle like this, not the horizontal one this way. So I want that vertical mid plane. I'm going to create a sketch on that mid plane. So up here in the orange part, I'm going to click. It's going to rotate my model. Now I need to get the geometry, all the shapes here of this piece onto this sketch. To do that, there's this really great tool that says Create, Project, Include, and you're going to go down to Intersect. So again, that was Create menu, Project, Include, Intersect. Click on that. On the selection filter, make sure that you have it clicked to bodies because we want to capture the whole body. And what this is going to do is wherever this shape crosses through my sketch, it's going to draw a line of where it crosses through. So I click on it, on the body, and then click OK. Now I'm going to hide the body. So I'm going to hide the base. And notice that's the shape as it was passing through. So this is that little lip or little indent that we made for the wire, and that's the little lip we just extruded. So to get this to work, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to grab a line tool, and I'm going to draw a line from here down, I don't know, to there-ish. Doesn't really matter where it is. And then I'm going to do D for dimensioning. I'm going to click on the line I just drew, and then this vertical line over here, because I want to set the angle between these two. And I'm going to set it to 45 degrees. A 45-degree angle, the printer can print out that angle, no problem. All right, so now I'm going to say finish sketch. I'm going to turn my base back on, and you can see now that's the little part, the little plastic that I'm going to extrude. The problem with extruding this though is it needs to extrude around this weird shape. If this was perfectly circle, we could do like a circular revolve command and revolve it around. But because it's not a circle, we have to do what's called a, I can't think of what it is right now, a sweep command. So it's going to sweep around a path. Before we can sweep that path, we've got to create a sketch with that path on it. All right, so this is how this works. Bear with me on this. I need to create a sketch that has this outside line on it that goes all the way around this edge. To do that, I'm going to create a sketch on this surface right here, the underside of this lip. I'm going to create a sketch on it. I'm going to hide the, actually I'm going to tip it over so I can see what's going on. I want to see that lip again. All right, now I can see the lip. I'm going to do P for project, and then I'm going to project, I'm going to zoom in that. I want to project the surface so I get both those lines on there. So I'm going to click there and say OK. Now I'm going to turn the base off and I'll show you what we have done. I'm going to click back to the home view. And what I've done is I've drawn, so this is the outside of the, whoops, let me get to where I can see it a little better. This is the outside shape of the base piece. This is the little triangle of extra plastic we're going to add, and this is that shape around the lip that we're going to follow. Does that work? Yep. All right, so now I'm going to turn the base back on, and I'm going to do what's called, I'm going to do, finish sketch first. And I'm going to come over here to create, and instead of revolve, I'm going to choose sweep. And what sweep does lets you follow a pattern that's not a circle. So I'm going to click, first of all, ask me, well, what's the profile that you want to sweep? Well, I want to sweep through this little shape here. And then the path I want to select, I'm going to click here, and I'm going to click on this outside edge and see what it does. It gave me an error because it thinks it wants to go around both sides. So again, this is a chain selection problem. Fusion is trying to do too much. So I'm going to unclick this chain selection, and I'm going to choose my path slowly. So I'm going to say, hey, I want to go around this outside edge. Keep going. And you can see it's already started extruding for us. In fact, let's hide the base so we can see what's happening a little better. So every time I add the path, it takes that triangle shape and it adds more to it. So again, I can't click on this one. That means there must be a little one. Yep, there it is. Adds more. Adds more. You can see it just circling around. And I want it to go right up to that edge there. And then over here on this side, I'm going to choose this one. There's a little piece in here again, I bet. Yep, there it is. And that piece. And then finish it off by selecting that one. And that's that ring of plastic that's going to kind of fill in that hard gap. I'm going to turn the base back on before I finish. That way it will join to it, and I'm going to say OK. It just did that work, and now you can see how cool is that. We've got that little support for the lip so that the 3D printer can print up this angle, and that's going to be awesome. So the cables come out here, and then they wrap around. Woo, we are getting so close. Let's stop for there. We've kind of gone over time a little bit. I'm going to save my file, maybe tip it to home view, and we'll see you back here in a few minutes.